Friends, hello and welcome back to the channel. It has been a minute, has it not? It's been about 3 or 4 months since my last video. I have been on a bit of a hiatus. I thought I would rejoin you today to chat about all things Derwent Inktense and layering with these watercolor pencils. Am I back permanently? I don't know. I think I'm just going to make videos as I feel motivated to do them. And I felt really keen to make a video for you today based off this picture. And we are rolling. I've lost the books, I don't know where they are. So I've been really getting into the Derwent Inktense of late and experimenting with different techniques. And as you can see here, I don't actually have the full set. The full set I think is around 100 pencils now, maybe more, I don't know. I've got about 20 here, and as you can see, this is not the complete range of colors. I'm missing a fair chunk of colors here. I'm missing vibrant pinks, I'm missing yellows, I'm missing burgundies, I'm missing different shades of green. There's a whole lot that I'm missing. However, because of this, I decided to get creative with my color mixing and see if I could come up with some colors that I didn't otherwise have. And before I forget, today I'm working from Beautiful Planet by Leila Duly. So I've watched a lot of videos on YouTube to do with color mixing across various mediums. The main one I've been focusing on is paint and watercolor. I feel like I know what to do with pencil, so I wanted to expand my knowledge a bit to Derwent Inktense. So you may have seen lots of other channels do this as well. So we'll base with the Inktense or even just any watercolor pencil and then put your colors on top. And as you would have potentially heard a lot of other colorists say, it can be a really great way to add extra depth and dimension to your colors and kind of humanize the whole process a little bit by bringing other colors through and also just bring a touch of realism to your work without going hyper realistic. And I found that actually basing coloring pages with Derwent Inktense and doing like that underpainting of color, if you will, can produce some really interesting results. And if I lift this up, I'm hoping that you can see how I've got little flecks of purple through it. Some petals look a little bit more purple, some look a little bit more red, especially if we're focusing on the center of the flower there. So that's what I mean by that humanizing. We're not just going for block colors. Sometimes it's a really fun way to mix things up is to throw different colors on in different spots. And it makes everything just slightly less uniform and slightly more painterly. Sometimes I love the effect of just going straight blends and very bold, simple colors. I think there's certainly a time and a place for that. But other times I really enjoy experimenting with splashes of color everywhere, and that's what I'm going to show you today. Another example of how this can work is by using the Derwent Inktense as an underpainting. And I'm sure a lot of you understand or have heard the term what underpainting is. If you haven't, it's pretty much just taking a color and doing a base coat and letting that color influence how the overall picture looks. So for example here, I've given this aqua, I should say, I've given her a blue base, and that is overall affected the tone of her skin. It's making her look a little bit more blue and a little bit underwater, if you will. And you can probably see all these marks here. I did not intend for that to happen. This is me just learning how to use the Derwent Inktense, and I've just had a bit of a color bloom that I wasn't able to get smooth. So in hindsight, I probably would have just found a watercolor pencil and just try to do a smooth color, because the Derwent Inktense can be quite hard to use at first. So therefore your base color can really influence the other colors that come through. If I had not applied this blue, if I had have just gone straight in with the skin tone colors that I chose, where is it? It would have looked a bit more brighter like this, and the ivory of the paper would have been underneath. Whereas the look that I was going for was this. I've given this example because it's probably more of a highlight and it's more obvious as to how base colors with watercolor can affect the pencils on top. So going back to this one, if you're wondering what pencils that I have used over the top, I used Polychromos. I find that Polychromos and even Castle Arts, for example, work better on this paper for me rather than Prismacolor. I find with Leila Duly's paper, sometimes the Prismacolor just sits on top and it's just too thick and I can't get it to be as smushy or as detailed as I would like. And also, not all paper will cope with the Derwent Inktense either. This paper copes really well because it is nice and thick. I had no bleed through whatsoever on the back page, and I don't even think I had any ghosting, and I went through quite heavily with the water unintentionally. And the background, if you're wondering, is Neo Color 2 as well. So the dilemma that I had, I wanted to create something burgundy. I don't have burgundy. So what did I do? I actually blended 2 different colored pencils to make that effect. And those colors that I used were deep blue and chili red. And to use a color wheel as an example. All right, here's a color wheel. There's the reds, there's your blue. Pop your red there, your blue there. So with red and blue, you can create all of these shades in between just by manipulating the recipe and the ratio of how much you use. And again, this is a very basic and simple color theory example. If you're very familiar with paint and color mixing, you'll know this. If this is your first time, welcome to the world of color mixing. So for example, if I wanted to make a color that was more red-violet and violet-red, I would add way more red and just a little bit of blue. If I wanted it the other way, if I wanted to go violet-blue or blue-violet, I would add way more blue and just a little bit of red. So by these 2 pencils, this opens up a whole world of new colors. And the same goes for the leaves as well. Now, I do have a little bit more green than I do blue and reds and things like that. So I went with 3 colors, the green, aquamarine, beach green, and the felt green. And I'm going to show you what that looks like today. So you might be able to see a touch of turquoise green in this, what I'd probably call like an emerald green leaf. Again, it's just a way to layer pencils to add a bit of depth and interest to the page without going too overboard. So in terms of demonstration of how I have done this, I'm going to use the opposing page here because the flower types are quite similar. I think this is a protea. I'm actually not quite sure. I'm not great with my botanicals. You'll know that if you've been following my channel for a bit. So just looking at this, I can see a few similar flowers here. This actually reminds me of an Australian botanical bouquet, which I quite like. So I'm going to give an example on these 2 flowers today. So if I pull my colors back out. So yes, so again, I'm using deep blue and the chili red. And I've also got a brush handy. This is my Arteza brush. This is the smallest one. If you have the pack of Arteza water brushes, it is the smallest. This is what I use for most things. And then just a manky cloth, which I've already been using. Okay. So to start with, I'm going to take this chili red. And I'm going to add multiple layers of each color. So I'm going to start off here. And I'm just going to like a medium to light pressure. Sometimes it takes a while for my hands to warm up. So I'm just going to go lightly. And I'm just following the contour of the leaf really. You don't have to be super neat with it because you are going to dissolve all the colors. But for me, it's just muscle memory. And I'm not going to go all the way up. I'm just going to do, say like that. So that's your red. Now I want to add some blue. And probably what we're starting to notice and look at is what you probably call optical mixing, because with pencil, because you're not actually mixing the particles together like you are with paint, So I'm talking about dry pencil. It's more of an optical mixing, whereas when we wet everything, it's gonna, all the particles are gonna mix together each more, a little bit more, and it's gonna become less optical mixing and more real. And what I mean by optical mixing, I mean is that when you look at it, it looks like it's a new color, but it's actually still just the two colors on their own. Their particles don't actually mix when they're dry, if that makes sense. If you want more information on that, maybe you could look up a professional painter. All right, another one of the red. So because I want this to be more red and less blue, I'm doing more coats or more layers of the red. And I'm going to adjust. However, I don't want this to be a completely even Steven blend. I want a bit of extra blue popping out in some spots, and I want a bit of red popping out in other spots, and you'll see what happens when I do it. But I'm just going to go darker down here because this is underneath the petal. I do have some videos on how to color flowers if you're interested. Bit of that. Now I'm going to go through with a bit more red. Okay, so looking at that, we can see that we've got a fairly, starting to look like a bit of a wine color. So now I'm going to mix it with my brush. Get my brush not overly saturated. I'm just getting all that green paint off from it. Caveat with coloring books as well, they are not designed specifically for wet mediums. As I have said before, sometimes, yeah, the paper can take it, but you've just got to be careful, and every book is going to be different. So if you're not sure, try some test pages on the back. Like I was saying before, I know that this works pretty good. So I'm happy with it. All right, so going in with a water brush, and I'm actually just going to start mixing the colors. Now, again, this is not a, how to specifically use Inktense for pros. This is just how you can layer it to get cool stuff. Wiping off. I don't want to bring up too much of the darker color up the top, otherwise it's going to look flat. And I'm just going to dot that out like so. And we have the beginnings of a third color. Now, if you look between the two, blue over here, red over here, the color is nice and in the middle. Let me do a few more by way of demonstration so we can start to see, I suppose, some of the variances that we can get with the colors. Now, you can also apply this technique with just dry pencil if you like. But if you're interested in exploring watercolor pencils and what they can do and how you can mix them, this is a fun exercise. Now, this doesn't have to just be with a Derwent Inktense. You could do this with any brand, really. The Inktense, you will get more of a vibrant finish, more saturated, because these pencils are in ink, and like pencil core hybrid, they're not the same as a regular watercolor pencil. A bit more. Okay. And once these dry, you can always go back in over the top and add more layers if you want to. Dab that out. I'm still, like I was saying, I'm still experimenting with these and figuring out how to use them properly in terms of applying the water and that technique. I think it takes time. Okay. Let's do one more and then we can assess with what we're looking at. we can unpack it. Again, I'm just being loose with it. I'm not pressing too hard. It's like a light to medium pressure, and I'm not being too neat about it. Sometimes I will be neat. Other times it's messy. Like I was saying before, sometimes I just can't get my hands to slow down and be controlled and precise. They just have their own mind, and I really have to just allow that to happen. I don't know if you find that, but they just feel all over the shop today. So yeah, I'm pretty impressed that I'm not going too much out of the lines. All right. So like I was saying before, if you were after more of a blue-violet color, you would just do more layers of blue and less layers of red. But because I'm after like a burgundy, almost, yeah, like a wine color, I'm going more layers of red. And I'm just changing them. I'm just changing them as I go. I'm really just being fluid about it. Just going to shape it. I have no rhyme or reason as to how I'm shaping. I mean, it's more muscle memory now. I'm just going darker around the bottom because there would be less light there. There's probably more light going to be like in the center there and at the tops of the leaves, which is where I'm leaving the whitest part. I don't want it completely white. If I did, I'll start my brush at the top and work down, but I want to bring the color up a little bit. So hence why I'm starting from the bottom, working my way up. Wiping off. Try not to drag too much of it up, just a little bit. So every time I do a section, I just wipe my brush off so I don't create soup, because we don't want soup. We're creating flowers, not soup. Okay. Okay, so there is those three done. Hopefully you can see a variance in each petal. They're all slightly different. And that's what I mean by humanizing each petal, I suppose, is that it's not a complete uniform, exact formula for each. They're all different. Every petal has its own character, its own difference, its own story, almost. And so if we look over here, if you can see closely, like I was saying before, we've got the same thing going on. So I can see a bit of purple and blue colors there, and some there coming through, there coming through, there. And sometimes I find if you were to do the whole flower just in Derwent Inktense and decided to leave it at that because you like that painterly watercolor effect, then that would be fine. You don't have to go over the top. Let's just do one more, and then I'm going to do some leaves. Now, I don't know about you, but I have watched countless color theory videos. And yes, I understand them. But for me, I find the penny doesn't drop or things don't click until I actually just get in and experiment myself. Until I just play around with colors myself. If I just look at things and think, oh, I wonder what they would look like mixed together. And I wonder if how much of each I mixed, what would I get? And the thing that I like about this is that I get to just be creative and play around with it. And you get what you get. It's kind of like you just throw the colors, the proverbial hat in the ring, and you see. Which is what I like about it. Like I was saying, for me personally, there is 1000% a time and the place for having color combinations that are the same for each petal and all petals looking uniform. I think that is dependent for me. It's dependent on the artwork. For Leila Duly's stuff, I'm really starting to like that color variation and how every leaf looks different. Okay, yeah, it depends on the style you're going for, and I change it up. All right. I will also, at the end of this, I'm going to quickly show you how I would choose pencils to go over the top as a little bit of a bonus thing. Today is just about how to layer your Derwent Inktense, because I got such a kick out of that other page that I did. I'm like, I have to share this because it's so fun. And like I was saying as well, there are a lot of videos out on YouTube on how to actually blend and layer your pencils, paint, a lot of stuff. And I'm sure there's a lot of videos on the Inktense as well. So maybe I'm just adding to the pool and the pile of what already exists. All right, let's move on to, I'm going to do some leaves, and I might do these ones down here because they're nice and big, and I'm going to do the same. I didn't write down what I used, but I'm pretty sure from memory and just by looking at it, it was beach green, felt green, and this green aquamarine. All right, same thing. Grab your pencil. They don't have to be super sharp. They can, but I don't know. If I was not activating these, I would have them really sharp, but I don't feel like I need to. I don't really have a plan with this. I have a loose idea, but I'm really just applying it where I feel like it's going to go. If you're wondering what my thought process is between, you know, how did you specifically know where to lay that pencil? Yeah, I don't. All right. I'm just going with the contour as well. Again, I'm just going around like that because I'm trying to make the leaf look curved. I do have a lot of videos on shaping things as well, if you are interested. Okay, I'm going to go in with the green aquamarine. And all I'm doing is just picking an analogous color. And what I mean by analogous, and I'm sure you would have seen this because it is on YouTube a lot lately. What I mean by that is colors that are next to each other on the wheel. So we've got green, the analogous color is blue-green, so neighboring colors. And by adding those, you're really just going to get something different. Again, just going back to that humanizing colors or pictures or results. So it's just more of a fluid thing. I don't know why I keep saying humanizing, but it's just it's just the word that comes to mind when I think of the character that it really brings. All right, so now for the felt green. Just a bit of that, just for a bit of extra bits and bobs. Bit of extra, and I kind of want to leave the blue more prominent. Okay, now for my filthy rag. Same thing. Now this is turning out to be quite a bright green, but that's okay. Oh, there's a lot of water there. Oh, my brush. Oh, I'm using the wrong brush. Doy. I was like, why? Why is there so much water? Okay. Yeah, this is quite a bright green compared to what I had. So the good thing about this is too that if your color's slightly off and you're not happy with it, it doesn't matter because you're going to put pencil over the top anyway, and it's going to change it. You don't really want to cover the entire thing in pencil and burnish the whole thing, because if you do, that kind of defeats the purpose of laying down your watercolor, because you're not going to see it a lot. You kind of want to, this is good if you just want to apply some medium layers of pencil over the top to enhance the shading. Now let me just show you, because that was quite a fair amount of water. See, I've only got a bit of ghosting there. That'll dry and that'll go away, but it doesn't matter because it's a blank page anyway, but it looks speckledy because I just was way too much water. Right, so the next leaf I'm going to do the same, but I'm actually going to bring in this Ionian green because I feel it's different. You can get the same results, but yeah, let's try that. And again, if you get the wrong color, it doesn't matter, because you can just tweak it until you get it. And the good thing about this is, oh, wet spot there. Yeah, this was the color I used last over there. I don't write down what colors I used anymore. I mean, it's probably a good habit to be in, but I'm getting better at just knowing it and just looking at things and going, oh yeah, that's that color from this set. Once that dries, I'll probably go back in and add more of this green to make them match. But again, I think it's nice when they're all different. Bit of blue. Now, you might look at the way that I'm doing this and you might feel, oh, you're just wasting your time with how you're carving those colours out and how you're just applying them because you're going to mush them anyway. Yes, that's true. I can't help but do it this way. It's muscle memory. So if I'm taking the long way, I'm taking the long way. That's fine. All right, back in with the correct cloth. How funny. Yep. See how this is more of a leaning towards a muted green. It looks more bluey green as well. Bit of that, mix it up. Over there. Yeah, that's the one I wanted. That will still work. So again, for the third time, if you put the wrong color down and you're mixing the wrong colors, you thought you were mixing this, but you're mixing that, it doesn't matter because it actually just adds to the effect. Keep going with it. Okay, so that is the how you can layer them portion. Again, if you wanted to make it even deeper, you could just go over the top with the same color again and work through it. If you had a pencil or a petal that was looking to blue, add more red. If it's looking to red, add more blue, etc. Or apply it to any of the colors that you have. Now I'm going to show you pretty much just how I pick the colors to go over the top, and I might do these first because that's still drying. Okay, so the next thing that I do with my colors is I don't really, with this style, I don't consult color combinations as such. I'll more so consult a swatch chart. So this is my Polychromos swatch chart. This whole concept is an amalgamation of many different YouTuber ways of doing it. I think, is it Gemma Chambers Art kind of does hers like this. You might just need to Google her and see. She does pencil sketch drawings and things like that. So you might look at this and go, wow, the swatches are massive. Yes. For me, I used to do my swatches, all the colors were a lot smaller on the page. They might have been like that big. For me, having them bigger, rotated around, I really haven't thought about this. That way. For me, having them bigger makes this so much more easier to match up colors. Because already I can just hold this here and I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, colors that look good with that. Red violet, burnt carmine looks good. Caput mortem violet, I'm probably butchering that name. They all look good straight off the bat. I could even add in some magentas, a little bit of purples if I want to, and if I wanted to add some greys, I can as well. All right, so they're there. All right, so these are the colors that I have picked. So burnt carmine, red violet, Pompeian red, light red violet, caput or caput mortem violet. I'm just going to say caput. I butcher that. So I've picked those colors because if you put them next to here, they look kind of nice next to it. So I'm going to go with that. And I'm not going to follow a specific order. I'm going to go from dark to light and I'm going to layer them. So for me, the darkest in value is definitely probably this caput mortem and the red violet. I'm actually going to start with the red violet. Going to give that a sharpen. If you're wondering what sharpener I use the Dahl 133. This is very good, in my opinion, for pesky pencils like Prismacolor, which are really soft and they break all the time. Polychromos, you could probably just chuck in any sharpener and they'll be amazing because they're really durable. But that's just what I like to use. So nice and sharp. And I'm just going to start, so I'm just feeling that it is nice and dry. I'm just going to start over the top and just shade it. Now, I'm probably not going to actually completely finish all these petals. I might just do one to show you. And I'm layering with these. I'm not blending and burnishing as such. And you just add as many layers as you want until your heart's content, really. I'm not pressing hard at all. Now I layer from dark to light in this particular instance because I like to see how just the shadows and the different colors are coming together. You can go light to dark if you want to. I do, there's some elements which I go like light to dark with. And you just layer it down. Now if I pick up that caput mortem violet colour, it's probably darker. You could pick up some blue pencils if you want. You could pick up brown. Sometimes the more you look at it, the more you look at the subject or the object that you're colouring, your brain's going to start to see what colours are going to work. And I really encourage you to lean into that. And don't be afraid to experiment with it. Pick a book that can kind of be like a playbook where you experiment with things, or find a practice book, or yeah, print off some pages on some good paper if you have a printer. Like I was saying, I really like the Polychromos in Leila Duly's books. Prismacolors are good and they're often my go-to pencil. However, you can't go wrong. Okay, so now I'm picking up the burnt carmine. I don't want to lose too much of what I've done underneath. Again, the whole purpose of layering these, of putting the Derwent Inktense down first is, yes, to bring out a more richness of colour, but it works in tandem with the pencils. And so you don't want to completely cover them in Polychromos because what's the point? Because you might not, yeah, you want both to work together. And I can still see at this point I've got the colours coming through, which is good. Now I'm going to do something a bit left of centre and I'm going to start with the Pompeian red. This is more of a coral red colour. It's definitely more of a mid value. And when I say value, if you were to take a photo of all of your pencils, and if you were to put it in grayscale, you're not going to see the colors, but you're going to see different shades of grey. And the different shades you can see are the values. So you've got light, medium, and dark. So the lighter the pencil color is, the lighter the value, etc. And now again for something different, light red violet, because I feel like I just want to play around with the purple a bit. So see here, we've got a much more vibrant and rich color than we did over here, which is just the Inktense. Now, you could go ahead and use the exact same colors over the top. Now, you might find that you pull out 5 to 6 to 10 pencils, but you might not use every single pencil on every single petal either. And that's kind of the key, is just play around with the different colors as you see fit. Like now that this green has dried, and that has, it just feels a bit, but we'll do this one. I think just that has had so much water. Same thing, I'm going to look at my chart and go, what greens do I like? Now to me, just naturally, I'm usually always drawn to muted greens, darker bluey greens. I'm not a huge fan of these type of ones. I probably am if I'm colouring something that's a little bit more cartoony, potentially, but my eyes like these. I'm not going to use those today. Use these. Maybe not permanent green. It depends. Oh, I could add permanent green because I did. Let me show you. There is a little bit of permanent green up the top there. Again, just for something different. All right, so my colours are chrome oxide green, juniper green, pine green, permanent green olive, and permanent green opaque. My favourite greens. You could add in some lighter greens if you want to. Sometimes you won't really know what you want to add until you get in there. And we could always add in a bit of a turquoise as well. If I feel that my leaf is looking too same and too green, you could always add in a dark turquoise too. It just, like, again, just feel it out. So I'm just kind of doing the same thing that I did last time and building up those layers. If you're a Prismacolor person, by all means, do the Prismacolor. You might even have another brand that you like. By all means, try this with any brand that you like. We all like different things. Again, it's more of like a slow development of colour. Like I was saying at the start, I have had a 3 or 4 month hiatus. I've been doing many colorings, much coloring, many art, lots of YouTube watching. And not only looking at coloring channels, I'm looking at many, many different other art channels, and it's been so fun, and I'm going to continue. So in terms of my videos, I think it's just going to be, for 2026, it's just going to be as I feel prompted and led to make a video. Some months it might be one, none, or a handful. We'll see. But I'm very happy to be in a position to be bringing you, hopefully, some fun content, and hopefully this video is not only entertaining but informative. But hey, if you're just here for the ride, you're just having a cup of tea and you're like, you know what, I just want to sit down and watch something, then here you go. I'm going to go in with this darker one again, the chrome oxide green. There we go. Make it a bit darker. Sometimes you just got to work at it until you get the darkest color. I think at one point I even added in some grays. The point of the exercise for me personally here is to really just develop my intuition and develop my color choices by looking and deciding things as I go. Not that there is anything wrong with planning. Of course, I've done plenty of videos on planning and color choices and combinations and things like that. Plenty. However, I think sometimes it calls for just jumping in and having a play with colors. Again, that will depend on the day, the mood you're in, the coloring book you're in, the week you've had. It depends on so many things. Now, if you wanted to darken this up even further, which sometimes you might not until like you've done everything and you're like, nah, it looks a bit wishy-washy. Browns would work good. Oh, wow, my language. Browns would work well for shading. Greys, turquoises. Or just get in and have a crack. And see here, I'm just going to layer this different green over the top. So we've got some other color that comes through. Again, I'm reminded of that phrase, just humanizing everything. Just gives it that more painterly kind of look if that's what you're after. So if you are someone that is wanting to get some of the Inktense, but you haven't because of the price, just go in and buy a couple. Even just go in and buy your primaries. Buy your blues, your reds, and your yellows, and see what you can mix from that. This whole experimentation for me was actually from, where was it? Jerry's Artorama. There's a guy, an artist on there. Is it John Williamson? Somebody, John Williams, John Wellington. John Wellington often features on Jerry's Artorama, their channel. And he shows how you can make flesh tones with using primary colors and a white and a black paint. And this whole thing was kind of birthed from that video, what I'm doing today and what I did on the right there. So I encourage you to watch tutorials from other artists that, you know, don't just do pencil. Bit of this, bit of that, bit of this. That's really how I feel I'm doing this. It's just a bit of that, bit of this. It's like if you're cooking and you're adding flavour as you go by taste. That's kind of what I'm doing here. Because there are days when that is what I want to do. I have days when I want to follow a recipe to the T. And there are times where I just want to get in and just go hammer and tong. I'm going back to the chrome oxide green now. Just darken that up a little bit. And again, if you're like, oh, I want some turquoise in here, we could add that in, and let's do that so you can just see it. Right, so I've just pulled out of my little thing this deep cobalt green. This is more of a turquoise green. I think it's really going to complement these because I've got the turquoise underneath coming through. So let me just sharpen that. Down the bottom a bit. I'm going to add a little bit in here. Yep, there it is. Just that pop of colour. I actually think the last video that I did was a similar exercise to this, but just with pencil in Hannah Cole's On Seasons, which I haven't actually finished that page. That is still a whip. And now this one is a whip as well. Okay, I could work on this leaf for hours, but you get the gist. You could even, with this, you could even go through and add some salmon and coral or some beige red if you were feeling it. Okay guys, so that is my example today of how we can layer the Derwent Inktense to produce new colors that we don't have in our set. So thank you so much for joining me again. I don't know when the next video will be, but maybe soon, maybe not, but I hope you've enjoyed today's video, learned something, and I will see you around the traps. Ta-da.